Welcome back to another episode of The Hard Truth. And as always, baby, the hard truth is that hard truth that the successful run towards and the weak run away from. Now, guys, listen, I'm going to tell you, man, I'm a fanboy just a little bit. I'm a fanboy. I don't fanboy often. I've actually fanboyed. This will be the second time I fanboyed in my life. The first time I fanboyed was I saw The Rock way before he was Dwayne at a NASCAR race. And he was actually one of the coolest dudes I ever had an opportunity to talk to. And now I'm going to fanboy with Wes Whitlock. Man, listen, I have been following your journey, man. I've been a silent cheerleader on the backside because, to me, from everything that I've seen done, and you just hang out with some cool cats, and those type of people wouldn't hang out with you if you weren't authentic, if you weren't real, and you just are a man's man in every way that it should be, like what you've done in the military, your time in the service, what you do with your multiple businesses, which I'm excited to talk about. And then as a girl dad, man, to see you with your little savage, I don't know her, but watching her ride horses and lift weights and throw knives, she does remind me of my youngest. Little Willow Winter. I call her a honey badger because she simply doesn't give a fuck, and it just themes that side to it. And you've got, I can't say it's the coolest because I got to always rep mine, but you got the second fucking coolest gym in the history of the world. You're constantly evolving. You're being a state. I saw it's got a roof on it now. So when Wes said that he would talk to me, but he's in Rome, so he's 7 hours early, I was like, shit, 4 a.m., let's do it, man. So who cares? So welcome to the show, man. We appreciate you making time. And I'm sure you've already had a couple. Well, it's actually probably afternoon over there. You don't even need coffee at this point. So how's things going in Rome?
It's going great, man, and I appreciate the intro and back at you, dude. I've been following your stuff for a long time. I think we're pretty much about the same stuff, and I appreciate you getting up early and doing this, but that just, again, shows the difference between, people that are trying to do things and doing things versus ones that want to stay in bed and stay warm and cozy. So, yeah, man, it's good to finally really get to connect here, and hopefully we can, maybe help somebody out along the way that's maybe struggling or whatever they may be going through. So, yeah, man, I'm stoked, dude. I'm just in Rome, my favorite city. I come here for inspiration. I think it's important for us to get out of our elements and go somewhere that breathe some different air and be around some different people and culture, and get some inspiration is very important. Otherwise, we get stagnant and still. So, yeah, man, I'm stoked to get on here and talk to you. And again, appreciate what you do as well. I know you pushing a lot of people. I've seen the changes that you've made with folks and their before and after pictures, and I know you get to the grind and live what you say and do, which is cool to see. So it's also inspirational for me. I think it's that old saying of iron sharpens iron. It's very important that we keep our circles like that because it gets us motivated, and keeps us pushing forward because we all need it. I don't care who's on top of the mountain, man. It's always they're struggling somewhere. So, yeah, man, stoked to talk to you, Dan.
So, one of the things, listening to you talk before we got on here and even now, it really just hit me. The first question I got to ask is you've seen so many people that come out of the military and, they may have had a badass job in the military, kind of like you did. But then they get out, and it seems that concept of pushing themselves and kind of going through crucibles and being they just don't want to do it anymore, and then they kind of fall off. And we have people that were just straight savages at one point in time that kind of become victims. I've seen a lot of guys go through it. I went through it. My question for you is, did you ever go through that, even for a little time? And if you did or if you didn't, how do you avoid falling into that trap, or how do you get yourself out of that trap? What recommendation, what advice would you give to young men and women that are finding themselves there?
Yeah, I've had this conversation with a few guys, and we've talked about, I call it, the dusty trophies on the wall, man. A lot of guys live in their past, and I think it's great your past experience and what people have accomplished and done. I don't think that should be forgotten, but I don't think it should be something embellished to live in and then sit back on your couch and look at your trophies. So I think every day is a trophy to be chased. And, if you continue doing that and doing the things that you did in your past, and make that a habit, you can still pick up your shield, you can still polish your boots, you can still get up and move and have purpose in life. So it's the small details, just like people did in the military, the little tiny things that uh, eh, make big things and big changes in your life. So, we've all been through that. We go through that period where we live a life of service. We don't care about money. We don't care about medals and all that stuff. We're there to serve, which is the greatest purpose in the world. And once you kind of find yourself out of that, like when I got into business, you know, and I was doing well and it was exciting, I still didn't feel accomplished that as much as I did, say, going on a mission and completing that and coming back with your boys. Like, it's not the same feeling, but so you got to stay connected. You got to stay connected to that culture, like with what you do with your business. We try to do the same with, when I started Rogue, it's not about clothing and t-shirts and designs. It's about a lifestyle. And, with that, we embrace uh, art and history and culture within that. And then we stay involved with communities by having events, having hero wads, having, working with different foundations, keeps you connected and your business connected to that type of dynamic, which I think is important and something you don't want to lose, because you can make millions and millions of dollars and lose that connection. You're not going to feel the same. So I think it's important to stay, connected. I don't want to say the word professional veteran, where some folks tend to live in it so much that they utilize that as their, I don't know, as their main staple to grow their business. I think it's important to have some of that in there, but you don't need to live in that. There's so much more that you can do in life. So I think, yeah, it just comes down to every day there's a purpose. Like you said, a daughter, okay, I have to drive my daughter to school. That's a mission to me. All right. I got to make sure I'm in shape. What if there's an accident? What if something happens? What if I want to be able to do something? So that's a purpose. You might not be out there fighting bad guys, but, there's still bad guys out there, and you have a purpose to protect your family and your children and your way of life and our way of life in this world. So I think that in itself is a purpose that, shouldn't be forgotten. And like you said, I think a lot of guys leave that dynamic of doing missions and all this stuff and then coming back here and then walking through Costco and being like, fuck, or Target and being like, this is bizarre,
Yeah.
but you can find ways to tweak that and say, what if there's an active shooter goes down in here? I don't know. I'm not saying being paranoid, but what if something were to happen? I was driving down the road. This was a few years ago, and I was kind of out of that world. I used to always carry a med kit. I always knew where my gear was in the car, and once I got into business, that became my focus. I'm driving down the road and I see a bunch of cars pulling over to the sides, and I look in the middle of the road and I can see a body laying there, So I just drove right up next to it. And I'm in my Maserati at the time. I'm like, pulls up to this lady, and she'd been ejected out of a Durango. Um, she went through her back window and then 15, 20 feet down the road. So her right leg was gone. And I just felt good that I was able to get out, assess the situation, and I had to put a tourniquet on her while civilians are standing around me yelling, "No, don't!" Because one lady was on the phone with 911, and of course they're telling her to tell me not to put a tourniquet on her, but I know better. Her leg's fucking done. So it's being in that. Okay, all of a sudden I'm going to my daughter's kickball game, and now I'm in that stressful environment again, just like that.
Yeah.
And I was able to react and do something. So you just never know. So you got to stay physically, mentally, and emotionally ready for any type of scenario that may come. And if you find yourself every day being prepared, then even if nothing happens, at least you're feeling that you're finding purpose in that. So Yeah, it's tough though sometimes, and I get it. It's sometimes things can be hard, and it's just you can do little things to improve yourself daily and stay in that mindset. I'm 49 years old, but I'm probably in better shape than I was when I was 25, and I'm going to keep going until I can't anymore. Um, and for me, it's not only mental, but it's also the physical aspect to be able to be prepared. And the greatest asset we have, all of us, is our mind and our body and our spirit. And people forget that. They're looking outside for all these things to fill them. It's like you got everything right here. You need to take care of it and fix it and make it optimized as best possible. Um, invest in self, and then you can be better for everybody around you. And your business gets better, your life gets better. And believe me, I've had my challenges with alcohol. I've had my challenges with depression and PTS. I fight those demons pretty much every night still, but I've given myself the tools, at least I hope, and I try to overcome those things that creep into all of us. Um, so it's extremely important to stay physically, mentally, and spiritually connected to good things. Otherwise, as you know, we also love the dark things. We love the bad things. We love the violence. So it's um, trying to balance that out, because I think it's important for us to also know that side of the wolf also needs to be fed once in a while if something bad happens. So yeah, so that's kind of how I try to live nowadays, and try to keep my mind open to uh, learning new things, and keeping my circle and the people around me that lift me, and not hold me down or kick me back. Um, as you know, just like with the herd and with the culture of Soldier Fit, and what you're doing is not just physical, but it's also mental, and it's giving people the tools they need to overcome daily obstacles, because they're everywhere.
Do you, in some ways, I think you're a bit of a renaissance man. Like you talk about, hey, we wanted to do artwork with Rogue, and the reality is y'all have some fucking pretty sick art. I don't know if you actually draw the art or where you get the art from, but we got the artist in you, we got the dad in you, we got the fitness guy in you, we got the war fighter in you, like the coffee maker, the podcaster. Like I think a lot of people feel like they can only be one thing. And there's probably people that would look at you, just superficially and go, hold on, you're into art? Like, really? That I didn't see that with you, right? They see you fucking jumping through your container gyms, doing deadlifts and then shooting a bow, right? Or throwing hatchets. So how do you ever find yourself feeling like, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe I'm not qualified to do this? And if you find that, how do you get yourself past it to say, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to send it.
Yeah, definitely a struggle, and as you know, it's I think it's an entrepreneurial thing, and I see like life is short and there's opportunities everywhere, and I want to try and learn and do different things. And sometimes it's kicked me in the ass. Sometimes, you know, it's like it's like, you know, it's like taking a room. You gotta go through that fatal funnel, and you gotta go make your entrance, and you gotta go take care of business, one room at a time, and clear one room at a time. Don't try to clear all of them at once. And I find myself getting distracted sometimes, because like for instance, when I opened my stores, so Rogue was doing extremely well online. But I didn't want to be an online basement business. I wanted to be a true lifestyle business where people could come to my shop, get a workout, get a tattoo, have coffee, hang out with like-minded dudes.
Yeah.
That was kind of the business model. So I opened a store in Bragg, one in Killeen, and my store in Austin, and it was taking on too much. When one thing is going really well, I could say stick with that, but that's not my mindset. Like I want to go try other things. So those were tough. And sometimes you have to step back and say, you know what, let me just dial this in really tight, instead of trying to do too much, because that can.
What do you think that's ego? Like if we step back and go, because I suffer. I know exactly what you're saying. You're like, yeah, and it is entrepreneurial. Like you're like, all right, this shit is hitting, but there's more. I can make this bigger. I can make this better. And then sometimes you find out that more fucking revenue streams don't mean more revenue, right? Like you're not focused on that. Do you ever? It sounds like you kind of went through that with the store. It's like, fuck, man, I almost wish I didn't. Probably at some point in time, you actually said, fuck, I wish I didn't open this. Did that happen?
Yeah, no, it did. So the problem with that was really people. It was, you know, so when I opened up Bragg and Colleen, now I got to hire a bunch of people to run those things. So it's like that's another entire business, and I didn't really realize that at the time. I was like, I'll just hire some good people and they'll take care of stuff. It doesn't work that way, So it's and that was just a constant battle. Somebody calling in sick, a car drove through the freaking front porch in Colleen. A meth head walked into the Fort Bragg store when I have a female working. Those are just headaches I don't want, man. And, but I also like a challenge, so, those were lessons learned. What I should have done was just franchise those out and been like, hey, bro, here's a business model that works. As long as you feed it and take care of it, you can have it. It's yours. We'll
Yeah,
franchise it out and you run it.
right.
I don't want to run it. So, yeah, that was a tough one. And I hung in there for a long time and I kept grinding at them and, kept trying to find the right people and stuff like that. And eventually I was like, you know what? And then COVID happened and now people are really calling in and this, that, and the other. So I had to close them up, man. But that was putting my pride and ego to the side because I'm a grinder too. I was like, no, I'll fucking make this happen. Nope, I'll fucking do this. But at a certain point, you have to say, okay, it's the law of diminishing returns. It's
It's your sanity.
economics 101. Yeah. So at a certain point, it's just like shooting all day. At a certain point, it's going to go like this. So you get to that peak and then, okay, let's take a break.
I
So
gotta ask though, where did you get the store from? Because you turned it into an Airbnb, the one in Austin, right?
yeah,
Which is just the
yeah,
coolest fucking building. I mean, ever.
it's great. So that was my fifth building as I was growing. I started in my spare room and then I got a small little office, 1,000 square foot office space in a strip mall. And then we outgrew that. I got the second one and it just kept growing. And I was like, I need something bigger and I want to hold events and stuff like that. So I started looking, I find this old looking saloon type of building out there in Austin. And I was like, man, this is it, So
So cool.
I ended up getting that and then put the gym in. Our gym it's free for law enforcement, military, first responders. Right now it's under construction. I'm doing a whole
What
new
made you
project
do
there.
that though? It looks awesome. It looks awesome the way it looks, but it also fucking looked awesome before. Like, what made you say, "Hey, I'm gonna put, I'm gonna take it to hillbilly heaven number two. Like, this is the next level of hillbilly heaven." What made you go there?
Just trying to evolve, man. I like to change things up and evolve things and make things better. I had a dirt floor. Now it's got a concrete floor. It didn't have a
Yeah,
roof. Now it's got a roof. I painted my entire building. I did a bunch of changed my store around and stuff like that. So I think it's important to not stay stagnant in something. I don't like to sit still. I like to take something and try to make it better. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, as long as you're evolving and putting in efforts, and that's just the way of business, way of entrepreneurship, a way of life. You have these. It's never this. It's
yeah.
this, man. So I've been at this for 13 years, man. So I've seen a lot, man, and it's been interesting. So, but at the end of the day, I pay my employees. We take care of business. I'm able to give my kids a good life. And I get to call my own shots. So at the end of the day, um, as you know, there's nobody else to call or just going to come take care of stuff when you got a business to run. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes like that. You don't just clock out. I always say this now. I say, I don't have a boss, but my customers and supporters are my boss now. So I have to answer to them, because without them, you have nothing. So you always have to remember that.
It's funny that you said what you just said because it was actually as I was sitting here talking, it was a question popped in my head, and then you kind of segue into it perfectly. You know, I think they say right now that there's some ridiculous percentage of veterans that are becoming entrepreneurs relative to the population. I'm gonna have to look that stat up. But what's kind of crazy about it is, in many ways, it's like everybody always talks about veterans should go be business owners, but in many ways, it's almost kind of like a not an oxymoron, but it almost doesn't fit in my eyes because in the military, you know, we are so kind of we're subservient to somebody. Like we're actually subservient to a lot of people, right? You can walk just down the street in the base and you'll pass 60 motherfuckers that outrank you, right? And can tell you what to do in a heartbeat. And so we live in this in many ways, a very rigid structure for so many years of our life. And I've talked about this with vets, like, you have those guys, and I laugh because a lot of the guys who were in the military and were like, I can't wait to get out. I can't wait to get out. And then fucking 10 years later, they got all their military gear on. And you're thinking back to when you were in the military, like, motherfucker, you hated it. You didn't even want to be in the military. You couldn't wait to get out. And now you rep your city everywhere you go. But you see us living in this world where you're never off. You don't think about it at the time, like you're getting it literally into a restricted piece of land, property, however you want to look at it. The mission never ends. There's no as soon as one thing's done, the next thing's up, and then you leave, and it's probably, at least in my experience, it's about 3 months later that you realize, oh shit, like that was actually really, I mean, there was some bullshit, no doubt, but that was actually really fucking awesome, right? And
Yeah.
now you go out and then you see all these guys becoming business owners, whereas they're not waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. They do got to come up with all the SOPs. They do got to develop all the plans. And so I almost think it's kind of a dichotomy in ways. It's like you would almost expect a lot of the military people to go out and go find a job where they could instantly fit in. There would be structure because that's what they were used to and would just charge forward with structure. But we're actually seeing a lot of these guys come out and thrive creating their own structure. How do you think that ends up happening? Why do you think that transition goes?
No, that's a good question, and I think for a lot of guys, the military is very safe. It's very safe. You're taken care of. You got a guaranteed check. You got your brothers right there. If you fall down, you're safe and you're secure. And as much as you might hate a lot of the bullshit, you're in that ride with a bunch of other really cool dudes and dealing with the bullshit. And at the end of the day, you're pretty well taken care of. And then when you get into this world, you're thrown out into the fucking fog, man. Uh, so I think it might be sexy from the outside. Dudes want to get out and see other vets doing business and stuff, which is great. But it's definitely not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody, as you know, because you don't have a squad or platoon or anything like that with you. You really don't. You got your friends and supporters and stuff like that here and there, but when it comes down to it, you're the only one. It's like a one-man mission in a sense. Not saying that you're doing it all alone. You have, your employees and people that are along with you, but it's just different. So I think it looks sexy from the outside, but as you know, it's not all sexy. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that has to happen um, to grow a business and to sustain and to um, stay relative in a competitive space. It's also very competitive. It's gotten very competitive since, 10, 15 years ago, which is cool. It's cool to see a lot of dudes getting out and starting businesses. But you see also a lot come and go too, because they realize, shit, this is not easy. And I think the sexy world of social media and stuff like that, it looks, um, it looks like something you want to get into. It looks like, I can do that too. And some guys can and some guys can't. it depends on the person, really. But it's neat to see. I think, you know, we do live in America. There's so much opportunity now. Um, but you're gonna definitely gonna put in the hours. So I don't believe in the guy that writes the, you know, work 4 hours a week guy. Maybe he got to that point after a certain amount of time of grinding, but
Yeah.
that stuff's not going to happen for a while. It hasn't happened for me. You know, I work all the time, and you know, I love it, but I'm also, you know, ready to do new things. I'm getting ready to make some big transitions. Um, you know, so I think you grow something, you foster it, and then you prepare yourself to um, go into something else. You know, so that's kind of the stage I'm at. You know, I love to build stuff. I like to take a seed or a napkin and write something down and turn it into something. Then I want to pass it off and go do something else. So that's kind of the stage I'm at now. I need a new challenge, you know, and you know, I've taken my brands pretty much as far as I can without partners, investors, all this stuff. And that's also another big difference between some guys are able to get out and they're lucky and they get investors and partners and stuff like that. But to me, I just never wanted to be owned. I was like, I will grind and stuff on my own. Um, there's pros and cons to that too. It's also good to have strategic partnerships and alignments with folks that can propel you even further faster. So it just depends on your goals, I think, and what you want to do with your particular business. Um, so yeah, it's as you know, it's a constant, man. But it comes down to people too. It comes down to your supporters and your customers and the people you're routed with. I have fun. I do a lot of work with Pat Mack and you know, and guys like that keep things fun. And you got to have fun because when you get to the point when it's not fun anymore, then you got to start making some changes. So you got to make sure you're enjoying it and having fun and there's passion still. If you start losing that passion and drive, then it's probably time to start looking to do something else.
You talked about the success, you know, the success of social media, but the truth is, even when it is sexy, like there's a lot of motherfuckers that look sexy and they're laying awake in bed at night, right? Trying to figure out how to do the next thing. Or some of the side of the house is like, listen, like I just need it to look sexy so more motherfuckers can get behind it to make it sexy, right? Do you? And then you got kind of this kind of leads into the other thing I want to talk to you about is you got a daughter and you're really involved with her. Um, do you ever find yourself like feeling like, man, there's this struggle? You know, everybody always fucking talks about balance. Like, hey, you know, I got to have the exact same amount of time with my kids and the exact same amount of time with business and the exact same amount of time with me. And like, how do you approach that? Do you believe in do you believe in balance? Do you believe that's something that someone can achieve, or do you have your own methodology around making sure that you take care of each one of your baskets?
I think, and you probably know this too. There's a lot of heaviness and guilt that comes with that because we never feel like we always feel like we need to be there for everybody. We need to be there all the time for our kids or people we care about, but yet we have to run a business. We have to do things to put food on the table. So it's getting to that point to where you say, you know what, I'm doing a good job. I'm doing the best job I can to make sure my kids or my people are taken care of, but I got to do these other things to make sure that happens. So yeah, the balance thing, no, because my thing is like if I'm at work or I'm at the shop and I got to get stuff done, and if my kids, I want them to be around that. I want them to be to see that and understand it and get involved because then I'm spending time with them, and then they're also appreciating what this is about, and you're also teaching them that you can also be your own person and your own boss.
Yeah.
And my kids have been fortunate; they've been around really amazing men. They've grown up around, you know, in my opinion, guys that I look up to, you know. So they've got to grow up in a different dynamic than their the kids that they grow up with, you know. So as they've gotten older, now I think they get a lot of it, you know. So yeah, it's hard to find that. I don't really believe in the balance. I think you just have to do the best with what you do and prioritizing your time with is it better here or here. Um, I don't really know. I just try to do the best I can with the time I have. And we never feel perfect, that we beat ourselves up because we're like, man, I should be with my kids all the time, but we can't. It's impossible. And as long as they know that you love them and that you're doing your best to make sure that they have what they need, I think they'll understand and appreciate that one day. But you'll feel some guilt there, man. As you know, you'll feel some guilt because sometimes dad just has to go do what he has to do to make sure they can have their a lifestyle. So yeah, that's a tough one. But yeah, my daughter, I have a son and a daughter. My son, I don't put him up there because he's very private. He hates all that stuff. They're just different. So I
Yeah.
respect
Isn't
that.
that
I
crazy?
respect
Like,
that.
how the fuck y'all so different? Like my oldest and my youngest, I'm like, were one of you from the milkman? Like, I don't understand it, bro. Like y'all are completely different humans.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's really interesting to see how different they can be. I love and I'm tight with both my kids. They're just very different. Um, um, I don't know. Your daughter is just different, like you just connected in a different way. And mine's, a lot like me. She's a Leo. We're into a lot of the same stuff. Um, she's an incredible athlete. She's the fastest girl in her school. She's just, she's just amazing. And I think all of us think our kids are amazing. But,
Yeah.
she was telling me her coach, called her to the office and he goes, or told her, hey, Nancy, we need to talk. You need to come to my office. She's like, I'm in trouble. And she's like, yeah, we need to talk about these steroids that you're taking. Just messing with her. I was like, you tell your coach, I had you freaking deadlifting at like 4 years old, kettlebells and all this stuff. So now it's paying off, I think. I think if we can instill that mindset at a young age, they can have that attitude to get through whatever they're get through and go full charge. And I see that when I watch her play sports or whatever it is she's doing. She has that heart, man, and that, I don't know if it's from, I don't know where it's from, but I like to think maybe some of that came from her upbringing, with me. And, I don't know. So yeah,
But isn't that
you
kind
know,
of the crazy part? Like, so this is the thing that I think I struggle with as a dad, right? Like, I was, I was adopted. I was molested by my brother and sister growing up, and I had things. I mean, what's kind of weird when I try to say this to people is like, there's parts about my childhood that sucked, and there's parts about my childhood that wasn't fucking that bad, or that I had better than other people that had worse fucking things happen to them, right? But to me, I think this is the real struggle as a parent. You want your kids to have everything. You want your kids to be taken care of and be protected. But at the same time, everybody that I've ever met that accomplished anything big, there is some struggle that happened to them. There is, I don't want to use trauma because it's not always necessarily trauma, but and definitely don't want my kids to experience trauma, but I don't think you go out and do big shit if life's been perfect for you the whole time. Like that's what's weird about it, right? Like I almost always go back to the Matrix, and I think this line in the Matrix always sticks out to me. It's like, we tried to make it perfect for you, motherfuckers, and you just didn't like it. Like you rebelled against us giving you all of the comforts that you wanted. And so for me, that's the hard part. Like as a parent, is like, yo, like I want to give you everything. I want to take care of you. I want to protect you. But at the same time, I know that if I put you in this fucking cocoon, and consequently, I kind of think that's dad's job. Like I'm still kind of old school in that matter. I used to say I'm young, but I'm fucking 44. And my daughter told me the other day, like she's like, you're the oldest person I know. I'm like, motherfucker, you know plenty of people older than me. What are you talking about? But I'm old school in that. I think that's kind of dad's job, is that dad, you love them, you've got to be there, but also like dad's supposed to be kind of the fucking discipline, right? Like dad, dad's the guy that, you kind of go to mom for the nurture and all that stuff. I'm not saying that we don't nurture them or anything along those lines, but like dad's the fucking standard bearer. Like I don't want to let dad, at least that's my approach to it, So how do you kind of feel like the same way? Like I've got to kind of expose them to some things. I've got to show them some hard, because at some point in time, you, me, we're not going to be here. And Our role as a protector is going to be done, and now you got to protect yourself. And so that's kind of how I look at it. And I think it's like the weird dichotomy, but sometimes I feel like I'm the fucking only dude left that thinks like that.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying, man. It's like we want to, and I know your story. I know you've overcome a lot, man, and it's cool to see you decided to take that pain and trauma and harshness and turn it into a positive thing. And to me, man, that's just so cool because a lot of folks, unfortunately, have been through a lot. Sometimes just live in that, man. So, and I know that's tough. I know that's tough. So that says a lot. So when it comes to our kids, I feel the same way. Like you want to, sometimes I want to give them what I grew up the same way, nothing, man. And I want to make sure my kids have things and experience things that I could never as a kid, up and coming. But I want to make sure that they're also able to take care of themselves if when they're in that, as you know, they will be in tested times of life. So it is a tough one to find that, especially with your daughters, because you're very protective. Like my daughter just told me that, I don't know, a few months ago, not even 2 months ago, maybe I was driving her home from practice or something, and she's 14 now, and she's talking about hanging out with friends, and usually when she says friends, Charlotte and the girls I know, Risa, and I was like, and then she mentioned friend, I was like, who's this friend, and she's like, well, he's a boy. And I was like, okay, well, tell me about him. And
No.
I was like, oh man. So, but I told her, I was like, I want that kind of relationship. I want you to be able to tell me
Yeah.
anything. And then, I was like, well, I want to meet him, so, met his dad. And I think that's important for us to stay connected to them as they're going through these type of challenges or changes, not to be mad and like, what are you doing? You can't see him. Like, well, let me meet him. Let me meet his father. Let me get his number. Let him know who I am
Yeah.
and that I'm watching, you know? So that worked
Because they're
out
going to
pretty
do it
smooth.
regardless, right? Like they're going to do it regardless, right? And so you don't want them doing it in the shadows because, in my opinion, that's when they can really get hurt.
Exactly. And I said the same thing with, drugs and drinking and all that stuff. You're in an environment because it's going to happen. You're at a party or whatever. There's going to be influences there. And I try to tell them never do that stuff. That's for weakness. That's a weak-minded person. That's a sheep mentality to do this, do that. That's bad. Like that's not cool. Like I try to teach them what's cool is to say, no, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm not doing that. That's cool. And that's why I like kids that are different. We see that kid that's not like everybody else. I think that's hard to do at a young age. So when I see that, I
100%.
I, I like it. And so I want to have that kind of open dialogue. If you guys ever do that, call me. Do not get in a car. Do not go anywhere with anybody. You call me. I don't care. I will come and get you. So I want to have that kind of open dialogue versus when I grew up, where you like, man, you don't want mom or dad or whoever to find out about this or that. Like we're always hiding. And that's no way to live. I think living truthful and honest and open, even when you make mistakes, which we all have, is the best route to go. So I think instilling that in them when they're young, um, is important, and having that open connection with them to they could call dad if their instincts are going off or whatever it may be, cool, call me. So yeah, we're protectors, man. We are protectors. At the end of the day, that's what we are and that's what we do. So, but at a certain point we kind of have to let them go. When my son started driving a couple years ago, and to me, the most dangerous thing you can do is get in a freaking vehicle
Yeah.
every day. The most dangerous thing you're going to do is get in your car. And now you got a 16-year-old that's out in a car, so I put him through my own driver's training. That's another thing I tell dads. Don't let some guy, high school driver's ed guy, no, I'm going to teach him threshold braking. I'm going to teach him how to drive from the passenger side. I'm going to teach him how to maneuver and know his car. And, we would go brick wall, and I had my son gun it until you're about, 15, 20 feet away, threshold brake that thing. And then he started feeling the dynamic of the car, understanding it. And then I would do leads and follows on him for his first month. I would lead him, I would follow him and watch him. And then I was like, I got to let him go. And he was fine. And he's a great driver. So I'll do the same with my daughter. So those to me are missions and purpose and give you purpose to pass that down to your children. Cause as you know, yeah, we will not always be here, but if I can give them some tools to make them self safer, better, or more aware, then at first they might be like, Dad, oh, why are you doing this or that? Or they'll get it later on. Oh, that's why Dad used to tell me when he gets out of the car, don't look at your phone, look at what's in the parking lot and certain things. So they'll start getting that later on in life and understand why you're doing that. So, I think this is part of our jobs, and guys like us, that's what we do, and that's our nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's we got to keep that alive, and then you got to let them go, and hopefully all works out well, you know.
Well, I think the reality is even when those kids are saying, Dad, you're embarrassing me, or Dad, let it back, or Dad, or you're not cool, or whatever. The reality is they may not actually say it, but deep down inside, like those kids know, right? Like this is dad loving. This is dad loving on me, right? Like it may not necessarily always be the, I saw a thing on your page where you said, uh, a girl may outgrow your lap, but she'll never outgrow your
Never
heart.
outgrow your heart. Yeah.
And it's like they know in that moment, like fuck, dude, it's hard for me not to get emotional. Unless my baby's upstairs right now. Like it's like they know, right? That hey, at the end of the day, that dude would run through brick walls for me, man. And that's just I think everybody talks about toxic masculinity. Masculinity, fuck, that's masculinity. That's like masculine love, man. Like I'm going to hold you to the fire. It's not going to always be perfect. I'm not always going to be your favorite fucking person on planet Earth, but you're going to know that I absolutely love you. As we get ready to wrap this up, one thing I do want to touch on is that you've stayed in excellent shape. You're this entire time. You said like, hey, at 49, I'm in better shape than I've ever been in. And I see a lot of guys, especially in the 40s, like start basically have just fucking given up. That's the end state, right? They've just given up. And I think a lot of people give up because they make working out just fucking miserable. Like not a good misery, right? Like this is you just hate all this shit. But you have such a cool approach to fitness. I mean, you get out there, you do your workouts. Um, I've got to get out to your place one day because I really want to do the fucking. It reminds me of like the old ox when they're like
The
grinding.
Conan wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking good thing, so badass. But you're doing the Conan wheel. You're boxing. You're doing MMA. You got the cool mace that looks like you built the fucker yourself, and then you're throwing knives and you're jumping over logs and shooting a recurve. Like, has that always been? Is that how you do it? Is it that you're looking to make it sport, make it fun? And what advice do you have for guys that like, man, maybe their trophies are real fucking dusty, and they need to get a new trophy? Like, how do you recommend they start?
Well, I would say, first thing, go get your blood work done. Go to a doctor, get your blood work done, see what your numbers are, see where you're at. And then I will tell you where you're at. A lot of these dudes running around with low tests, feeling like shit in their 40s. Go get your blood work done. See what your numbers are. There's nothing wrong with that. If your test levels are below 100 or 200, that's probably why you feel like shit.
Yep.
Go get your blood work done. I do TRT. I can do once a week. I do TRT. I get my blood work done every 6 weeks, and there's nothing wrong with it. You need that. So it depletes. Once you hit about 28, 29, it slowly starts depleting. So as guys get into their 40s, yeah, they're going to feel like shit. You got to eat right, get your blood work done, see what your levels are, and then you can adjust things from there. Get some TRT, start feeling better, and then just start, go slow if you have to. Just move, man. You got to move. We are creatures meant to move. And 40s is not old. When I was a kid, we were kids, 40s like the fat dad on the couch drinking a Budweiser watching fucking football, which I'm not that guy. I don't fucking do that. I don't watch football. I don't watch fucking NBA, none of that stuff. I want to be the guy in the arena, not in the fucking stands. And I know that's a fucking cheesy, overused term nowadays, but it's true. Um, this life is a fucking arena. I'm in Rome right now. I go to the Coliseum and my fucking hair stand. I feel that shit, man. So this is important for us to do and continue to maintain ourselves. You know, we have our limbs. You know, guys like I know that are missing limbs and have severely been wounded. They just physically can't, or they still try. You know, I work with a foundation called Reorg. It's a British foundation that is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And one of the guys, Mark, triple amputee, and he's I don't know, a fucking purple belt now. But these are the guys that inspire me. So you have no excuse. Oh, I'm tired. Fuck yeah. Look at this guy. And he's still out there getting it on. So, you know, we have to have reminders sometimes that I got one life. I got a body. I got all my limbs. I can move. Why would I not want to try to get better and optimize myself to be a better person and live better and feel better, and look better? You know what? I love going to my daughter's soccer games and I see all the soft dads standing around and they're like, oh, who's this fucking guy? You know, like, I don't know. I kind of like it.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
you know, it's a sense of carrying yourself well you know, and set an example for the younger and even dudes your own age. Like, fuck, man, I need to get my shit together. Look at this guy. Look at Pat Mack. You know, he's in his mid 50s. This dude still fucking hammers it
Still
because he
getting
lives that life. Yeah, man. So there's no excuse, man. There's no excuse not to. You know, but I'd say get your blood work done. See what your numbers are. I knew a dude that felt like shit, former SEAL, and he was negative, bro. He was like estrogen level. He was like below zero.
yeah.
I was like, man, no wonder I feel like shit, you know. And then he got his blood work done, got on some TRT, started training, working out, and fucking is killing it now. So, you know, get
Well,
your
I
blood
always
work
tell people
done.
like if your fucking range can be from 200 to 1100, like how fucking different do you think you feel at 200 than say 889? You're a fundamentally different
Absolutely.
person, bro. You're a fundamentally
Yes,
different person. Yep.
absolutely. So yeah, you're in that range between 6 and 800, man. You're gonna feel great. I know some dudes optimize at 1200, and then
Yeah.
other dudes feel fine at 200. You know, I like to keep my numbers between 4 and 8. You know, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that. It's what your body needs.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of guys out, you know, folks that I know these are in their 40s and 50s and they're fucking yoked. And they're like, oh, do my workout. All right, cool. But, you know, some, let's talk about some of this other stuff. It's
Yeah.
peptides and fucking all these things that are out there now. If you're utilizing those in a healthy and sustainable way through a doctor and blood work, you think The Rock and all these guys are no, bro. All these motherfuckers are on stuff, dude, which is fine. But you still have to eat right, and you still got to
Well, that's the
train.
point. Like, you don't take it and turn into the fucking rock. Like, there's still work ethic that has to happen. You know, probably one of my favorite. I don't. You probably have seen it. You know, old movie, but Pumping Iron, right?
Oh yeah, classic,
And Arnold
man. I
Schwarzenegger
still
goes,
love it.
"I would never want to look like you." And he's like, "People's like, I would never want to look like you. Don't worry, you won't." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could be on TRT till the fucking sun comes up. If you sit on the couch and don't work, you're still going to be fat as shit. It's not overly complicated. It's not that much of a miracle thing.
Absolutely, yep. You still got to put in the work, and then I don't know, you just feel better. So
Yeah,
you know, but yeah, I would say that get your blood work done and just start, even if you start slow, whatever. I'm all about moving. The human body is meant to move, and now we sit, we're stagnant, we're behind computers all day, we're indoors all day. We're meant to be outside moving around, and we can still do that, you know, especially if you have your limbs. There's no reason why you should not be. But yeah, that's you know, kind of my approach to it, and I'm gonna do it as long as I can. You know, every day is a blessing, man. Every single day that you get up and wake up is a fucking blessing. Have some gratitude. Um, you know, life's amazing, you know, and one day it's going to be gone, you know, so take each day as a new day. Don't live in the past. Don't live in the future. Live right now and do the best with what you can with intention of whatever it is you do. If you're drinking coffee, do it with intention. If you're writing something, do it. If I'm having a conversation with Danny, have some intention here, not just, hey, bro, what's up, man? Like, You know, if you
Yeah.
do things with intention, even the small things, then it starts to build up and it compounds. Um, and I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I have my times too and struggles. Like, fuck, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this or that. It's hard, man. But we're meant to do hard stuff.
Yeah.
That's what we do, And then at the end of the day, you can say at least I got up and I did what I had to do. Um, if it worked, great. If it didn't, great. But I at least tried. At least
Yeah.
try. So yeah, that's my approach. Just try, man, and be grateful for what you have. Um, yeah, that's
Well,
kind of my approach.
that's the perfect approach, if you ask me. Wes, listen, I know you're over there in business. I know you're in your favorite city and you took time for us, man. I'm very, very appreciative. I can't say thank you enough. If people want to find you, where's the best place for them to look?
On all the platforms, IG, and I don't do much Facebook, but I'll probably start getting more into YouTube. I'm going to kick up I'll have you on mine, so
Yeah.
I'm going to kick up my podcast again and start getting more into more content driven stuff, and kind of get it as I start making some shifts. But there's some fun projects in the works now, so you can find my stuff on social media stuff. Um, but yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you getting up early and doing this, and keep doing what you're doing, man. I see it, and it's cool, man. It's cool to see somebody that's continuously improving and pushing and making other lives better, and that's what it comes down to is as you make other people better, you get better too. So yeah, dude, keep doing what you're doing, man. And, come out to Rome sometimes. You would fucking love it here, dude. So
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
bring your daughters too.
That's literally no bullshit. I was sitting there thinking to myself upstairs, I'm like, all right, I gotta get four motherfuckers on a plane. I gotta get everybody over there, but you can't go. Like my deal is if I'm gonna travel, they're coming with me. So, that way, I think somebody said it one time. They're like, listen, I want to show my daughter the world so that she's not impressed by your crusty ass son sitting in the house offering her fucking
I like
McDonald's.
the Yeah. On that note too, the last thing on the daughter dad thing, a big one for me is and I took her and her friend to dinner before I came over. Make sure you're showing that young man how to open a door. I still do when I go pick. I get because her expectations are that open the door
Yeah,
for her. Treat So I think that kid after he saw that he was like, oh shit, So
yeah. This
it's those
motherfucker
little
will
things
eat
like
me.
that. Yeah, man. And if you want to call that toxic masculinity, then I call you a fucking jellyfish.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
we need more of that, man. We need more strong dads, more strong men. And that means being physically, mentally, and emotionally capable to deal with things that come your way. That's your job as a man. So,
But you know what's kind of crazy about that? And I just, you you doing that for her in no way does it limit her independence as a woman. In no way does it make her subservient to men. She's still a fucking savage. But this is like there should be, I forgot who said it one time. They were like, listen, if I'm trying to protect you, it's not to say that you're weak or inferior or you're less. It's to show you that you're worthy of protection, right? And you're 100% right. Like, why do we not want to do that anymore? Why do we not want to? Women do. I've always told folks like I get a lot of women in my business. 75% of our clientele is women, and they'll say things like, "I'm just a stay-at-home mom." What the fuck do you mean, just, bro? Like, you do what no man can do. No man can birth a life. No man
hardest job ever.
we can't do it.
We
You're
can't.
already special, right? You already have a fucking superpower, like over
Yes.
all of us, And I think
Yes.
it's part of the reason why society is fucked is because we've tried to make everything fucking equal, and it's not equal. It's not fucking equal. We're never going to be equal. Like, accept that,
Nope.
right? But everyone's special and unique, and if we bring all of those different, unique things to the table, we all
Great
fucking win.
things happen.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
The masculine and feminine, you get out, women women really are more powerful than men. If you even look at Rome was founded by the she-wolf, raised Romulus and Remus, two young boys. You know, the mother, the female is the most powerful thing, Mother Nature, all this stuff. So we need to protect that. That is something that it's our job as men to make sure that that is sacred and protected. And, because it is so special and important for life. So yeah, that's our job. So I think that's what we need more of. And we need good women, good, strong women that, that understand their importance in this realm, because it is extremely important. Without them, there is nothing. So yeah, I love to see that dynamic with,
And if you think about it, like this is the one, I even did a post about this yesterday because like I was sitting down here. I know I said we were ending, but fuck, this is just such a good topic. But I'm sitting down here and I took my daughter, like I'm getting my daughter into hunting, and I took her deer hunting. I actually just got into hunting, fucking fell in love with it last year.
I saw that. I saw that. I need it. Yeah, it's inspirational, man. I saw
Dude,
that.
you would love it. Like you would think, I haven't been, I've been in gunfights and fire and been, ran into buildings on fire,
It's
but
different.
not to the level of that you've been, obviously. But what's wild is all of that fighting in a cage. And I was like, when I got into hunting, I'm like, you see all these people get like fucking these nerves and shit when they shoot. I'm like, it's a fucking deer, bro. Like, what am I gonna do? And then like the first time like you fucking shoot one, or even when they come out and you're just sitting here like this, like you can't stop the shake. That's what's like addictive. I mean, you're just like, holy fuck. Like you shoot and you're like, you sit down and your whole body's shaking. I mean, honestly, no bullshit. Like worse than when I've been in gunfights. Like I'd get out the gunfight, you'd literally be like, you're jacked, but like you're sitting in a fucking tree stand shaking. It's the weirdest shit. But we took her a lot, and she didn't actually get to see anything. And so I ended up taking her to this one place. Personally, I would never do it again. Not because the place sucked. I thought it was gonna be like this big open thing, and like we get a track. And really, it was a relatively small fence. But whatever. I digress. But we took her out there and I let her see an animal get harvested and this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting in here the other morning, and she comes in and she goes and she says, Daddy, thank you for today. I had a really good time. I really appreciate it. And I'm just like, and I fucking melted in the chair. And I think, some of the times I would love for fucking women to grasp this concept. Like a dude will run through the fucking wall just for you to say thank you. And, you talk about women are the most powerful force on earth. Like if a fucking dude loves you, bruh, he will kill himself just to get a fucking pat on the back. And what's odd about it is so many people in today's society, so many women in today's society don't fucking get it. They don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
they're,
No,
they're
nailed it,
we're sitting
bro.
on the couch, like just begging, like, please say I'm a good fucking man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. I think a lot of marriages and relationships would be saved by something so simple as that, because that's all a man really needs or wants at the end of the day is, hey, thank you, or thanks for what. I don't know. It's just one of those things that's very powerful to a man.
Yeah.
He doesn't need you to buy him stuff or whatever. You show some appreciation for his efforts, because I think a lot of men carry a heavy load, and that's women do too. But there's different ways to show that a type of appreciation. I think that little thing like that could save a lot of people, man, a lot of
Yep.
relationships. So it is extremely important. So I agree with you on that, because I posted something the other night. I saw it was like Leonardo DiCaprio or something. His daughter
I
comes
just
up and is
redid
like,
it.
"Think,
Yeah.
yeah,
I just
dude, like
did that.
that. You feel that shit, right?"
Yeah. I shit hurt my heart, bro. I was sitting over there.
Yeah,
Oh, God, you loving me. You really loving me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it, man. That's all we need. We don't. That's the fuel right there. So
100%.
yeah, dude. So you know what I'm saying. But yeah, dude, keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm gonna have you on my podcast. I'm gonna fire that back. It's going rogue with Wes. I'm gonna fire that back up before the end of the year. So I'll get you on my guest list. Would love to have you, and love what you're doing. And thanks too. This gave me some fire for the day, man. So
Likewise.
I
Likewise, bro.
appreciate it, brother.
All right, guys, if you got anything out of today's episode, by all means, give us a like, subscribe, and a share. And remember, guys, the first step to the storm should always be on. Keep living, head down, horns up. Till next time, salute. Much love,
Badass.
brother. I appreciate you.